So today I'm in the beautiful Dimmingsdale area, not far from Alton Towers, and what I'm going to be doing is walking the Earl of Shrewsbury's old carriage drive. And the Earl's Drive was a route created in the early to mid 1800s by the Earl of Shrewsbury for the use of his family and their visitors to get to and from Alton Towers. And I'm going to be starting this walk at the traditional entrance to the Earl's Drive, which is called the Counslow Lodge. Right, so I'm almost at the Counslow Lodge now, and as you can see, this little road that I've just got to go down on my right, that leads to the Counslow Lodge, but just on the left is the main road to and from Cheadle. So the Counslow Lodge would have been from people approaching from the Cheadle direction. Alright, so we're at the start of our walk, and as promised, this is the Counslow Lodge, where people would be let onto the drive to get to Alton Towers, or not. And the Counslow Lodge was built around 1850. And apparently the Earl of Shrewsbury built this track from the Counslow Lodge towards Dimmingsdale to avoid paying turnpike charges on the main road. And Pugin carried out improvements to the cottage, including the addition of a stone Talbot hound on the gable, up there right at the top. There were also various symbols of heraldry, obviously related to the Talbot Earls of Shrewsbury. And inside he also created a large chimney breast and fireplace. And the significance of the heraldry and the Talbot hound on the exterior would point out that it's approaching an estate of importance and distinguish it from other more common buildings in the area. So the Counslow Lodge is just there, but obviously as it's a private residence now we can't just walk through that back garden, so if we just track down here slightly, there's an opening just down here, and that's the route we're going to take, and then after about 50 metres or so that should join up to the Earl's Drive. There we go. So if we just look back from here, obviously where that fallen tree branch is there and beyond, that's where the track would have come through from the Counslow Lodge, and then down here. So we're actually on the Earl's Drive now, right at the start. So this is the wider map of basically where I'm going to be walking today, and in the bottom left hand corner where the big circly thing with the cross is, that's Counslow Lodge, just down there. So I'll be starting at Counslow Lodge, then walking through Counslow Plantation, and then that will go slightly up and continue along the Earl's Drive, which goes up there, and then basically follows along and then through Dimmingsdale, and then eventually we'll go up past the Ramblers Retreat and Chained Oak and all that, and that continues all the way until we get to the road that goes up past Alton Towers, and then basically that gets to there, and then that would just continue to the house at Alton Towers. And it's probably, I'd say, about 4 miles across from point to point over there. So that's where we're going to be walking today. And if that isn't very clear, I'll probably put a picture of the map up on the computer. And the function of the lodges, such as the Counslow Lodge, were obviously for security, in the sense that you could decide who to let onto your drives on the way to your properties. And they were also to house the gatekeepers, who would have to stay there to perform that duty. And also, the style of the buildings helped to give visitors an idea of the importance of the estate and who might live there. And in this case of the Counslow Lodge, when Pugin did his improvements, you can see that it was in a slightly Gothic style. And so in theory, the grander the lodge is, the grander the house and the estate was likely to be. And you might be thinking, well, this part of the route doesn't look very wide or friendly to horse and carriages. And that's basically because there's been a lot of tree growth and stuff, because as we've seen at the Counslow Lodge, that's a dead end now and a private property, so this path's not used very often anymore. But when we get down to Dimmingsdale, you'll see that the path opens up properly wide, and you can tell that that was an old carriage drive then. But this is very little used now. You might find a few fallen tree branches and stuff on your way. So like I said, this isn't used very often anymore. So yeah, you can see how the path would be wide enough if it wasn't for all the overgrown vegetation and stuff in the modern times. Here we go. So we're still in the Counslow plantation, but as you can see, the path's getting wider now, like a proper carriage drive. For this bit anyway. So you can imagine if the Earl of Shrewsbury was having visitors or something, you might say to them, if you're on the main road from Cheadle, instead of carrying on the main road and paying a turnpike charge, if you go to the Counslow Lodge, tell them your name and the gatekeeper will be expecting you, and then he'll let you onto our private drive where you don't have to pay any charge because we've constructed it ourselves, and then you'd be on the Earl's private drive towards Alton Towers. So yeah, there are various bits of this Counslow plantation that open up wider, and then there's more narrow bits. And then as we get to the end of the Counslow plantation, you'll come to a gate that you can walk around here. And as you can see, this is a quite good spot for people to park the cars and go for a walk from here, which I didn't know about before, but I might use this in future if I'm having a walk around here. So as you can see, Chapel Lane just cuts across, and then we carry on along the Earl's Drive directly over here. But before I carry on a bit further, I'm just going to take a slight detour up that Chapel Lane to have a look at another couple of interesting things. Now I've come slightly off the main path in a place called Threpwood now, and this is actually the area of a little old quarry, And I'm just going to go down this little path here. It's not used very often now, but there should be like an old well at the bottom of here, so you can see how the old walls here are growing moss and stuff. You've got a big sandstone outcrop type thing there. And then just down here there's an old well that I assume would have been used by the quarry workers. And there's still some water down there, as you can see. And on the old maps and some of the modern maps, I believe this is referred to as Beggar's Well now, near Threpwood. So if you're looking for it, that's what to look for, Beggar's Well. And then if we just come out of this area, we'll meet a little road. And then just to the right off this little road here, we're going to take this little track here, and apparently this leads to an old milestone, to Alton Towers or Alton Abbey, so we're going to have a quick look up here. And as you start to go up this path, interestingly, if you look at the floor, it's all rock that looks like it's been laid down. My guess is that this was all laid down purposely, so that when the quarry was in use, when they were transporting a lot of heavy goods backwards and forwards, that the track was always in sort of a good condition for transporting, instead of wagons or whatever getting stuck in the mud and stuff. Now, just as we continue up this path a little further, when we get to this gate with a few houses behind it, just by this wall here, I think I found the milestone I was looking for. And it's just jutting out next to this wall here. You see? But unlike the other milestones that we'll see today and we've seen in the past, this one looks like it's missing its iron plate off the front. If you look close, do you see the two grooves on either side? That's probably where the plate was fitted into it. So it looks like the iron plate's come off the front of that. And according to the old maps, this would have been a 3-mile milestone to Alton Towers, or Alton Abbey as it probably would have said on it. Okay, so I'm back on the Earl's Drive now, and as you can see, it's opening up into a proper carriage drive, nice and wide. And as we continue down the Earl's Drive, let's have a look to our left, and then to our right on the path, look what we have here. It's another milestone to Alton Abbey, 2.5 miles. So the one that we saw with 3 miles probably would have looked like that, but obviously the iron plate with the information on is missing from the other one. So there we go, Alton Abbey, 2.5 miles on the Earl's Drive from here. So if we have a quick look at the map again, I've come out to the plantation there, over the road, and I've carried on along, and then round here, and this is the milestone here, MS Alton 2.5. So I'm just about there now, and then I'm going to carry on. And I'm going to speculate on why that 3-mile milestone that we saw earlier was not on the main Earl's Drive that I'm walking this morning. And I think that maybe that was the route that people used to take to Alton Towers before the Earl of Shrewsbury built that leg from the Counslow Lodge through the plantation. Because it is strange that the other milestones that we'll see, they're all on the main Earl's Drive. But I mean, my speculation could be wrong, but that's the first thing I've thought of. And we're now into a section called Dimmingsdale, and we've got running water down there. And if we carry on a bit further down the path, or Carriage Drive, I should say, got the next milestone to Alton Abbey, 2 miles. There we go. And obviously it says Alton Abbey because the house on the Alton Towers estate, that was originally called Alton Lodge, and then as it was being built bigger and bigger and improved, it then became Alton Abbey, and then eventually became Alton Towers. So this part of the Carriage Drive comes through an area called Dimmingsdale, and it had a bit of an industrial past, and you see remnants like this for managing the water and stuff. So there's various like waterfalls and stuff. I wonder if I can walk across it. Try not to fall in. You can see there might have been some sort of gate to control the flow of water from here in the past. Isn't it gorgeous around here? Now you can see why the Earl of Shrewsbury would have chose this route to have his private carriage drive. Another sort of waterfall thing here. You can imagine visitors on the way to see the 16th Earl of Shrewsbury thinking, oh, it's got a lovely estate here. Look at the old stone walls. Now I'm actually down here by this star at the bottom, and there's supposed to be a milestone for 1.5 miles to Alton Towers, but doesn't appear to actually be here anymore. Yeah, so that milestone's supposed to be down by this corner somewhere here, but I think it's been lost to the sands of time somehow. So it looks like no 1.5 mile milestone anymore. I love these days exploring with a map, when you're not sure exactly what you're going to find or not find anymore. There's lots of these memorial benches around for people who loved walking in the area. You can't blame them really. It's a beautiful area. We've made our way through a fair bit of Dimmingsdale now, and we're about a mile from Alton Towers, and according to my old map, in this area here there should have been a 1 mile milestone, but that one seems to have gone as well. So it's like the closer ones to the Alton Towers estate seem to have gone for some reason. I mean, why have they gone? Were they removed for the metal during the war effort or something? No idea, but they don't seem to be here anymore. Alright, so if we have a look at the map now, I've come from the Counslow Lodge, I've come all the way along here, up here, down through Dimmingsdale, still coming, and then we're pretty much here now at the bottom end of Dimmingsdale, and we'll be what's known as the Ramblers Retreat now soon. So we've done about 3/4 of the trip so far, and eventually we'll be up there at the gates. So this is the old mill pool for the smelting mill, which is behind me at the moment. Look at that for a scene. At this end of the mill pond, I think this is a sluice gate here. This is the old smelting mill. If we look around this side of the smelting mill, you can actually see the remains of the old water wheel down there. And you can still see some water running down past it. But obviously the water wheel's all derelict and broken now. But yeah, that's the old smelting mill. And then just past the smelting mill, we're at the bottom end of Dimmingsdale now. And shortly we'll be at the next lodge building. As you can see, this bit's now used as a car park for what's now known as the Ramblers Retreat. So back in the Earl of Shrewsbury's day, this was known as the Dimmingsdale Lodge, and this performed a similar function to the Counslow Lodge. And if we go a bit further down, you'll see that there's a tower on the end of this building, and that was so that the gatekeepers could keep a watch for the Earl's carriage and his visitors, and that way they could open the gates as quickly as possible so that they didn't have to slow them down. Yeah, so this was another lodge building onto the estate, the Dimmingsdale Lodge. And this is now a really popular cafe and somewhere to rest and relax. And there's a nice car park here as well that opens at 8 AM, and this is where I parked this morning. And then literally just over the road from what's now the Ramblers Retreat, but it was the Dimmingsdale Lodge, the Earl's Drive would have carried on through these gates here into a stretch that's called Barbary Gutter, and this is where you'll find the chained oak halfway up, and that's where I'll be going next. Alright then, so here we go, heading towards and up Barbary Gutter, but first we'll get to a little bridge that the carriages would have gone over. And this is called Lord's Bridge, and this would have been built in the early 1800s to cross the River Churnet, which is just down here. And over the other side. Have a little look down at the side. There we go, so one large arch in the middle and two either side of that large arch. You can actually go under these little arches. Well, this one anyway. And we can see the other side of the bridge. An interesting thing about this bridge is that half of it on one side is in Alton and the other side is in Farley. And for some reason, I don't know why, there's another little arch a bit further along from the bridge. Down here. God knows what that was for. Possibly for storage or something like that. I really don't know. Just to show you where we are now, I've just come from the Dimmingsdale Lodge, and I'm just over the bridge now there, and then we're going to go up Barbary Gutter here, chained oak trees there where the star is, and then just up there that will be the entrance to Alton Towers up there somewhere. And then not far up from Lord's Bridge we have an old bridge for the old railway here. And if we have a look over the top of here, that path is where the old railway would have run. As you can see, very handy for dog walking and stuff now. And you might see that there's a bit of water running either side. To the right, a bit of a wider water course. And then to the left, there's a little one. And the old canal through Alton used to run via sort of this route as well. So one of those are sort of the remnants of the old canal as well. And I would suggest it's probably the one on the left hand side, which is actually the sort of the smaller looking watercourse. And this is just the other side of the bridge. And there's some people coming on horse here. They haven't got a carriage, but you know, they're using the old carriage drive. I'll just pop down here and have a look at that bridge from the bottom. Yes, this is the old railway bridge. Right, so let's get back up onto the carriage drive. So we continue up Barbary Gutter, and if you believe the old legend of the chained oak from the Hex attraction now at Alton Towers, somewhere on the carriage drive where I've been walking today, that's where the old beggar would have been cruelly dismissed by the Earl, leading to her putting a curse on him and his family. And this Barbary Gutter is a bit uphill, so would have been hard work for the horses, probably. And then eventually, on our left, we get to the chained oak. But this is absolutely wrecked these days. When I started coming here about 20 odd years ago, this tree was actually pretty much a properly formed tree. But since word getting out about the legend and where it is and stuff, branches have come off and all sorts, and it's like people must have been hanging off the branches or standing on them and pulling on the chains and stuff. You can see the chains still hanging off the trees in places. Down here, some not very bright people have started even hanging locks off them, like love locks or whatever they are. So eventually that's going to weigh the tree down even more if people carry on doing that. In another 20 years time there'll just be nothing left of this. Yeah, so look at these branches that are broken off here. And this has only happened in recent years, really. For some reason people don't know how to behave themselves. You can see the chains going through the tree. More love locks. Absolutely ridiculous. You can see where they've all broken off up there. Yeah, so that was the chained oak tree, and now it's the collapsed oak tree. And now we'll continue up Barbary Gutter along the old Carriage Drive. And then you know when you're getting near the top of Barbary Gutter, because you'll start hearing the car traffic on the way to and from Alton Towers on the Farley Road. You can hear the lift still on Oblivion as well. And then we come to another lodge for Alton Towers, and this one's right next to sort of the main estate where the house is. And this is called the Pink Lodge, or the Italianate Lodge. So now, on this Carriage Drive walk, we've seen 3 lodges. And we've seen the remains of 3 milestones, I think, and 2 spots where there should have been one, but they're actually gone now. So you would have come out at the top of Barbary Gutter there, and if you were allowed in by the gate person, you would have come past the Italianate Lodge, and then over this road, if it was there at the time, I think it was, and then you would have entered the main Alton Towers estate here, and the drive would have gone up there, and then basically you would have just gone round in a big bend past the front of the house, and then under the Barbican and along that big sort of walkway or whatever, and then come outside the grand entrance, and then you would have gone into the armoury and picture gallery and stuff like that, where the Hex attraction is now. Right, so now basically we've finished the whole walk from Counslow Lodge there all the way through the Earl's private carriage drive until we've got to here, which is the gates that stop us from getting into Alton Towers at the moment. Yeah, so that's basically where I was just at the top of Barbary Gutter, and where the Alton Towers fence was there, where the line is, the carriage drive would have continued into Alton Towers there and just followed that route till you eventually got in front of the towers, which are there circled. Then it would have just gone round the side and then round to the grand entrance there, and that would have been it. The Earl's visitors would have been there, or the Earl would have been back home via his horse and carriage. So yeah, I'd say that walk from the beginning at Counslow Lodge to the gates of Alton Towers is probably about 4 miles on foot, because you're doing a lot of zigzagging and stuff. But in total today, I've done around 9.8 miles and 21,899 steps. But that did include actually walking to the start of the walk, and I've been exploring a bit off route sometimes as well, so quite a bit of walking, the things I do to make these videos. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching, I really appreciate it. I hope I didn't put you to sleep, and I'll see you next time. Thanks a lot.